navigating modern manhood, exploring what it means to be a father, a husband, and a man in the 21st century. Now with your hosts, Scott and David. Hi, Scott. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, David. Thanks for asking. What about yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad, thanks. So welcome, episode number 10. Here we
Yeah,
are.
big 1-0. Yeah, we're getting there, which is good.
Yeah.
Had a bit of a
Double.
break. We've both been busy, but yeah, excited to get this going again.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for watching, those who are seeing this episode. It is number 10, and it's been 4 months or so since our last episode. So, Scott, let me ask you, what's been happening for you in the last 4 months?
Trying to keep busy, man. I've been very busy. Actually doing some stuff with you through 6 Seconds, raising my EQ, becoming accredited as an EQ practitioner, and still developing that and putting that into the mentoring practices. And actually comes in really helpful with the Reiki practice as well. So developing that, and then house renovations, dealing with the kids, lots of other things going on, and
navigating a few things then.
That's it. Yeah, navigating life and trying not to be fixated on one thing. So
yeah.
What about yourself? What have you been up to the last couple of months?
Well, as you know, you gave me some Reiki, so this was a nice exchange. So for those who haven't watched the episode, Scott is a Reiki master, and so I said, well, I want to have some. And I came back from Australia. I went to Australia for a month over Christmas, came back with aches and pains in my legs. And he said, well, why don't we try some Reiki? So it was really cool, Scott, to have 3 sessions with you. And you did it remotely. And so what was really amazing is he said, right. And we talked before, and then we together, he said, right, the next, half an hour, this is the session. And so I lay down and was open and ready. And honestly, I can tell you that it was just extraordinary I felt all sorts of tingles and sensations that we spoke about, of course. But for those of you who are interested to meet with Scott remotely, it's so possible. So I was already converted, but I'm convinced, honestly, of that power. And then the aches and pains truly did go away, as well as doing some physical exercise and my diet and looking at things holistically. So I'm really grateful to you, Scott, for that opportunity. And you mentioned tune-up, so we're going to have a tune-up this month sometime. And I think it's really powerful, and something that perhaps that for men they wouldn't normally think about. So for those watching who are interested, I say get in touch with Scott and just have a go, because you never know how it's going to make you feel. And I feel much more vibrant this year than where I was last year, thinking about my mental health, about my physical health as well. So I was in Australia. I landed in Australia off the plane, and I was in pain. And I went to my osteo, who corrected my neck and all sorts of things. And he said, David, you've been spending too much time standing at your desk at an office job. You're basically an office job. When I used to be an opera singer, a much more physical job. So I'm recognizing, and I've just turned 45, that it's time to nourish my body this year. So since coming back, I've been to the gym almost every day. I had to take a break after 33 days because I was exhausted. But when I go to the gym, I'm on the rowing machine and I'm on the elliptical. That's it, 15 minutes, but consistent small steps are what I'm taking. So that's what I can fit in right now, Scott. What about you?
That's a lot.
So is rugby continuing, or have you shifted now and moved towards something else?
I've shifted. I'm doing my daily walks with the dogs, and it's grateful to have them. But first of all, I just want to say I'm humbled and grateful for your feedback. I'm glad that you enjoyed the experience. I've shifted. I'm now doing some home taught through one of the people that we know, Chris Radnich in Australia, in Canberra. I'm doing the online Kung Fu course with him, and also some Sheng Zhong, which is like ancient Chinese medicine of actually exercise by standing still and holding poses. And far out, man. Whoever knew that standing still was so tiresome? Being hits and the pipes and drums and everything at school, I knew that standing still people faint. And it was difficult to stand still in one position, but actually doing specific exercises, connecting with your body and the energy around, it's quite wholesome. So I've been doing that.
That sounds cool. And maybe as a nice segue, we ought to get Chris on. What do you think?
I'd love to get him on.
Yeah.
He's a wealth of knowledge. That man is
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Cool. Cool. Great. Well, that's awesome. So let's have a think about, and we just wanted to share some thoughts and insights about, if you haven't watched the last 9 episodes, about there's some of the things that through our guests mainly that we've discovered as well. So Scott, what were your impressions of the people that we spoke to?
There's quite a lot. I think I found a main thread that came across through them was that no one really wanted to define it, and it couldn't actually define what a modern man is.
Mm,
Sure, there's values and common threads that interlink, but no one can define it, which I think is brilliant because it doesn't put anybody in a box.
mm,
And I think it was with Ed. He was like, it's that flexibility, the ability to be able to adapt and go through it. And everybody's an individual, so
mhm,
it's not specific to every single person. So he works in the outdoor environment through farming. It's
mhm.
completely different who he needs to be to you working in the universities, at home, with us mentoring and coaching other people.
Yeah.
It's dependent on who we are and our environments and how we surround
Mm,
ourselves. So that's cool. And one other common thread was vulnerability kept being mentioned a lot,
mm,
especially with Liam. Liam and Ed mentioned it directly. And
yeah.
then, yeah, as it came through, it wasn't quite specifically mentioned, but it was all there that when we actually reach out for support, we're vulnerable enough to say, "Hey, I need some help." When we tell somebody, "Hey, I'm feeling this," you're opening yourself to rejection. You're opening yourself to criticism. You open yourself to be bullied and everything else. But it's actually the strength within saying, "Hey, I'm here and I need support. I need something that's going to
Mm,
get me there." It
yeah.
could be someone in the business life, like you have a CEO who goes, "Right, I don't know the answer to this." And
Mhm.
everybody's down the hierarchical ladder looking up, going, well, "You should know the answer. You're the CEO." It's like, no,
Yeah.
I don't know the answer. I'm going to empower you guys. I'm being vulnerable. Let's work on it together and let's find the answer and the
Yeah.
solution.
Yeah.
So it
And
was
through
really
that
good.
vulnerability, you build trust, don't you? That's
Absolutely.
how trust comes about. So the webinar I just did on trust with 6 seconds last week, we talked about that. And leadership is about vulnerability.
So true. And
So
I think trust is something that is built and gained when you do it yourself. And the only way that you can build trust, well, not the only way, but one of the ways that I see that you can build trust is actually by going into that conflict and going into the rejections, because
mm,
then you learn to trust yourself and what's right for you in the moment. And
yeah.
everybody's got a different definition of truth. What's true for me may not be true for you. But if we
Mm,
can trust each other and trust that I stand in my truth and you stand in yours, and we can be vulnerable enough to correlate together, then we can progress forward.
yeah. Yeah. I hear you. Yeah, that makes sense. And so certainly what you mentioned about the vulnerability and it being hard to define what is a modern man. I think the thought that came to my mind with each guest that we had was that we're all taking steps trying to move forward in the best way we can, but we do so openly. We do so with the recognition that we don't have all the answers. I don't
Correct.
know about you, but some older men in my life, you meet with them and they say, right, do it this way. That's the way. That's it. And it becomes a very kind of closed, almost closed-minded view of this is the way reality works. And I think maybe that was then, but now we have so much diversity, so many. You mentioned before everyone's truth and being able to, doing what they need in the environment they're in, and so that cannot be so well scripted and defined. So we might meet another Ed, a farmer somewhere else, in the next 10 episodes, and that person has a completely different truth to Ed, or to Ross Reiki that we had on, who was all about meaning from work, and he's now gone off and been a ski instructor. So taking
Oh,
another
that's awesome.
I'm going to catch up with him in Vienna here soon, and again a whole other new set of experiences that might help him to move in a new direction. Um, but the road and the path for each of these people is also a little bit different, and I think that's what we want to share here, is to make sure that people recognize that there are multiple journeys and there are multiple paths. And so it's about helping you to discover things from others that we can benefit for ourselves.
Yeah, 100%. And sorry, I did jump on my phone just to make sure I had Ross's name right.
Yeah.
That was one of the core things that Ross said. Like he noticed with his grandfather and his father, it was how times had changed. And I think with every generation, we all fit into a different concept of who we have to be in the moment and in our environment to go through. And as society changes, we change too. Definitions of words change as well. Like I don't know if I'm going to get this right, but 60 years ago, gay meant happy and bright, whereas now gay, is a sexual connotation to the way certain people aligned themselves. So it's like times change, definitions change, truths change.
Yeah.
We as humans change. We grow. We start off tiny as a baby, and then we grow into an adult, and then we slowly shrink a little bit more as we get older as well. But like change is all around us, and we are forced into it, or we can choose it.
Yeah, absolutely, and that requires vulnerability.
Absolutely.
To turn up.
And there was a really cool thing that you mentioned too, was just your 15 minutes a day in the gym was that one thing, and that one thing can have such an impact across your life, and you never know how much it could be. So I actually think it was with Liam as well. Liam was talking about just one little change that we could make. You never know the impact that it has.
Yeah.
I remember myself saying, when we have a smile, we just go and walk past someone and give them a smile and you see their face change. You don't know what that could mean for that person because you never know what they're going through.
Absolutely.
That could change their day. That could change their outlook in life, what's going through for them.
100%.
Yeah.
So let's continue to navigate then this year, 2024. We're going to have more guests. So for those watching, if you are interested to join us on this podcast and this YouTube series, then you're welcome to email us. So here's our email on screen, navigatingmodernmanhood@gmail.com. So Scott puts the episodes up on Spotify. I put them up on YouTube. So whenever we release something, it goes on both platforms as well, which I think is great for people in the car. I'm now spending a couple of days a week driving an hour to the university that I work at. So I pop on episodes of podcasts or ebooks. So this is a great way perhaps for you to catch up with our latest episodes. And if you'd like to be a guest, we'd like to see you as well. So I've got a couple of people in mind that I'd like to bring on this year. Including a gentleman here who's a window cleaner. He's a self-employed seasonal worker and really a fantastic guy. Another Australian. So
we're everywhere.
We seem to find Australians wherever we go, but certainly he's someone I have in mind. And there'll be others as well that I'm thinking.
I've got one, a guy, Goran, who I've met at Toastmasters. We're both involved in Toastmasters. It's actually another thing that I've joined since finishing up rugby, but he's mindset coach, and I really connected with him through the first three sort of catch-up sessions of Toastmasters that I went to, and really excited to explore the mindset change and listen to him about how he reinvented himself. And so he says, even within my whole friends network, he says, I have to reintroduce myself because I'm a changed person. I've changed my mindset, I've grown, I've adapted, and now I'm the modern me. And when he said modern me, I was just like, oh, you're going to be a key person. Let's go. Let's get you on the podcast.
Let's get him on. Well, that's great. Well, stay tuned, everyone, to what's coming up in 2024. And thanks for watching this episode. Any final words, Scott? Anything else for this year that you're living by or wanting to share?
I'm just going to live by consistency. I think if we're consistent and we can implement what we're trying to change to get to, if we can expand that over a year, then it becomes part of our subconscious patterns, and therefore we can truly say that we've changed. We can all have a breakthrough moment, or could it be a breakthrough conversation where it's like that is the singular point where you've come into a breakthrough of knowledge. But it's when it becomes wisdom is over time, and it's all about the repetition. So I'm aiming for consistency, and I'm just exploring the world with a sense of childlike wonder, and really taking to heart from our previous guests and our conversations about the fact that modern man is not defined. And I think being not defined, being flexible and adaptable, like water just goes where it's allowed to flow. If it hits a rock, it goes around it, it finds a path. But also water is something that will continually break something down, and it's soft. With softness and gentleness, which can be that vulnerability,
Yeah.
we have the ability to change not only our environment, ourselves, but everything around us. So
Yeah.
excited to see what the year brings, and really pumped to get some extra people on the podcast and to continue our chats. I think Chris will be a great one. The importance of movement in the body and also grounding ourselves and connecting in, and then obviously mindset and your window cleaner. I'm keen to see what he's got to say, because when we change,
started an online business as well. So definitely
when we move ourselves, move our environments, and in how we manage to survive. So let's see what the year brings, and excited for more.
Brilliant. Stay tuned, everyone, and we'll see you soon.
Cheers.
This has been another episode of Modern Manhood, and if you've enjoyed this episode, please click to subscribe and make sure you stay connected. We are navigating modern manhood. Join Scott and David next time.